up, guys? It's Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna do a Thanksgiving tag. And originally, I had planned to do this cheeky little thing where I do the Thanksgiving tag while I make Thanksgiving dinner, and my Thanksgiving dinner was gonna be something like hot dogs, um, because my family's getting together Saturday and not today. Today is Thanksgiving, so to give you something else to look at other than me and my books, I got Finn, and I got the list right here. So I'm going to do the Thanksgiving tag. And it's been going around Discord how much fantasy readers really love historical fiction. And we're trying to get historical fiction more popular on BookTube. So my Thanksgiving list, it's like Thanksgiving food. For my Thanksgiving list, I'm going to keep it pretty much all historical fiction centered. So let's get into the list. So first is mashed potatoes. This is the crowd pleaser. I don't like mashed potatoes. I like baked potatoes and french fries and tater tots, but mash them up and I don't want them. So anything by Kristen Hanna is going to be a crowd pleaser. Personally, I don't really think she's that great, but I don't think you're going to find anybody else on BookTube who did not like The Nightingale, which is a World War II kind of women's fiction story, but I just I think I initially gave it 2 stars. I read it last year, but the more I ruminate on that novel, the more I just absolutely despise it because I despise the characters. I think they were unrealistic, and it was written in a way where it was kind of dual time. Well, it was dual timeline, but the way it was done was that the present day, which was really in the 90s, was written in first person, and then in the past during the war, it was written in third person from multiple point of views. So when you get a dual timeline like that, usually it's like somebody telling somebody a story, or the person in the quote present is finding something out. So from a storytelling point of view, I don't know how the main character Vianne would know the thoughts going on in the head of her sister Isabel, who is another character, and it's told, the point of view is told from Vianne in first person during the 90s. So it doesn't make sense to me. The average reader, I think, would love it. And my aunt, who I'm going to see on Saturday, said it made her cry. It did make me cry. So Turkey, which is a must-read classic. I don't like Turkey. It's too gamey. And actually, Madison, who I think originated this tag, she said that Turkey is hard to cook. I've never tried because I don't like it, but maybe I don't like it because it was never cooked well. Who knows? But a must-read classic in the historical fiction genre is The Scarlet Letter. Now, a lot of people actually don't know that that's a historical fiction novel, but it is. It is about the Puritans, so it would actually kind of be a good thing to read this time of year, next November. Read The Scarlet Letter, because it's about the Puritans in Plymouth Colony. Wow, when I was making this, that didn't occur to me. But yes, The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne is historical fiction, because Nathaniel Hawthorne lived in 18-something, and this takes place during the 1600s. So yes, definitely. Most of you probably read it in school. I was supposed to, but I didn't. And I didn't read it until the start of 2020, and I absolutely loved Hester. She's up there with characters like Jane Eyre, which I finally read last year, as far as historical feminist writing goes. But I think Hester Prynne, she had so much grace, and she loved her daughter Pearl so much that I think she edges out Jane Eyre and the strong female protagonist early wave feminism, if you can even call it that. So, very much. All right, gravy, number 3. You can't get enough gravy. I don't like gravy. I don't like it. I don't really like putting wet stuff on top of my food, if that makes sense. Maybe if it was on the side, I could dip a little bit in it, because I can dip french fries in ketchup, but I don't like gravy. So, but this is something you can't get enough of, and it's Outlander. I love all the Outlander content. I really like the show. The show is a little bit better than mediocre, is what I'll say. It's good. No, it's good. It's good verging on really good. The books are great. So it's about Claire. She's a 20th century woman just after World War II. She gets sent back through these standing stones. Probably a good thing to read around Halloween, because I think Samhain is when Claire first goes through the stones and meets the love of her life in the 18th century, who I can't stand. I hate Jamie. But it should tell you how well-rounded and how real the characters in these novels feel, that I hate the main love interest, but love the series. So that is number 3. So cranberries. That is a palate cleanser. So a dish that goes with American Thanksgiving, I think most of my viewers are Canadian, is cranberry sauce, but it's not really a sauce. It's more like a gelatin. I'll insert a picture right here. And I don't think I've ever tried it. I don't think I've ever tried it. I do like cranberries. I really love cranberry juice. So this is a palate cleanser. We'll put Finn up there. So a good palate cleanser for me is comics. That's what I put on my list here. But I tried to keep this historical fiction focused, but there's not too many comics written about history, and the one I'm going to recommend, called The Snagglepuss Chronicles, Exit Stage Left, does take place in McCarthy-era New York, and it does kind of verge on the fantastical side, so it's more like historical fantasy, I guess. It's very strange, it's very weird, but it's very good, and it's very gay, so it's got that going for it. Okay, number 5, green bean casserole. It looks gross, but tastes great. Again, I've never tried green bean casserole, but I'm going to say anything middle grade historical fiction. You may, as grown-ups, kind of turn your nose up at middle grade a little bit, but the thing is that weirdly, historical fiction thrives in middle grade, and it doesn't in YA. We have one exception, someone who thrives in YA, and that's Ruta Sepetys. But I dare you to name another YA author who focuses on historical fiction. I mean, I don't know. So a lot of the younger level historical fiction is actually middle grade. And so I'm going to recommend Fever 1793. This is about the yellow fever epidemic in 1793 that hit Philadelphia. And our main character, who I believe is called Maddie Martha, contracts yellow fever. She's very close with her grandfather. They try to escape, but the fever just follows them everywhere. And this is a good example of a book about a teenager that is written at a middle grade level. So I need to get a copy of it and put it in my classroom, because my girls might love it. I have a lot of stuff for the boys, but the reluctant girl readers, I need to get more. Okay. Part 6, stuffing. That is a comfort read. So stuffing, what we Americans call stuffing, I think is technically called dressing. You don't put it in anything. It's just like bread. And that's one of the few things when I go to Thanksgiving that I will actually eat. But I don't really like it that much. I also, on top of not liking wet things on top of my food, I don't like little things in my food. So like rice that has peas and carrots in it, I don't like. Like, just don't put little herbs or anything like in the food. Just don't do it. So that's one of the reasons I kind of have to pick around it when I eat dressing, not stuffing. So I'm going to say a comfort read for me is anything Revolutionary War. So Fever 1793 has some references. Grandpa in that book fought in the Revolutionary War. But anything Revolutionary War is very, very comforting to me, because, we won the war. So I know there's going to be conflict, but, happy ending. So we're sticking with Histfic. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and recommend it. The Alexander Hamilton biography that inspired Lin-Manuel Miranda, but that's a biography, it's nonfiction. So instead, I'm going to recommend Johnny Tremaine. Little American classic there. And again, it's about a teenager written at the middle grade level. All right, 7, pies and desserts. These I'll eat. I love pumpkin pie. I know a lot of people don't, but I just love pumpkin flavored anything. So, this is your guilty pleasure. Ken Follett Historicals. Guys, like, I talk about him all the time. I love him so much. And A Column of Fire has taken the place of the opera scene in Fall of Giants for the weirdest sexual action in any book I have ever read. Ken Follett Historicals, that is my guilty pleasure. You guys know I like cringe sex. Like, if it's normal, like, good sex, like an Outlander, I just skip over it. I don't want that. I want to be cringing and laughing. So, 8. This is the veggie tray, which is just for looks, meaning that you put the veggie tray out as like an appetizer and people just kind of look at it. They don't want it. Again, that's one of the few things I will eat at Thanksgiving, so I am very grateful for the veggie tray, or else I would starve. Can imagine me starving, but I would just like have a worse time than I already am at that awkward family situation. So this, I think, is supposed to be like a book that you've had for a really long time and like kind of plan to read, but still haven't gotten around to it. I am not really bad when it comes to that. Like the book right behind me, The Normans, I haven't read that. It's kind of hard. It's on a really high reading level, like even for me. So I'll get through that. I've tried to read it a little bit. I really like the pictures. But for this, I'm going to use the Plantagenet and Tudor series by Philippa Gregory. I have read more than a few of those books. I think I've read 5. And one of these days I'm going to finish it. One of these days I'm going to finish it. So maybe cheat a little bit, but veggie tray, it's not just one food, it's lots of foods. So Plantagenet and Tudor novels, not just one book, lots of books. There we go. All right, 9, The Leftovers. So this is a book that's better on a reread. Lots of times people will have like leftover turkey and they'll make a turkey sandwich, or they'll do something with the dressing, not stuffing. I don't know. If the vegetables are left over, I'll eat them. But like, I don't know, moldy vegetables, no, I won't eat them. I won't eat them. So, Leftovers, a book that's better on the reread. So, funny story, I was kind of trapped at my parents' house for a little bit, and I didn't have anything with me to entertain myself because my mother was running late and I was waiting on her. So I found an old copy of The Queen's Fool that I now have in my apartment because it was mine to begin with. But I took it and I started reading it. Haven't finished a reread, but I do plan on rereading it because I plan on reading all of the Plantagenet and Tudor novels. So I'm going to say The Queen's Fool by Philippa Gregory. The last time I read it, I was 16, and I didn't really appreciate literature on the level that I do now. I mean, I was a pretty advanced reader at 16, but not like, 30-year-old me is, of course. So I'm going to say The Queen's Fool, which is about a girl with like psychic powers, and she's Jewish during the very Protestant versus Catholic times, and she works as a fool for King Edward VI and Mary Tudor, Bloody Mary. All right, so The Long-Winded Uncle. I think this is a book that went on too long. Like a long-winded in the US, that's a saying for people who just continue to talk. It's like that uncle that just, once they get on a story, they don't stop the story. And for this, I'm doing World Without End, which is the second Kingbridge novel, second or third, depending on how you count the prequel. I think it is better to read the prequel as a prequel, not as like the start of the story. No, read it after you at least read Pillars and Pillars of the Earth. But World Without End is a little bit longer than Pillars of the Earth. I believe it almost breaks 500,000 words. I'd have to double check, or it could be a lot lower. I think it may be like 430 around there, so I don't believe it breaks 500,000. But Pillars of the Earth, I think, is 412,000 words, and then I'll look it up and put it right. Is it going to be right there or right there? I don't know. I'll put it on the empty space wherever, however many words it is. but it went on a little bit too long. They do cover a lot of time, but they meaning the Kingsbridge novels, but the thing is they like don't cover it continuously. They'll like jump in and out of the characters' lives. And so, since it is in the late Middle Ages, it's in the 14th century, obviously we get the Hundred Years' War and we get the Black Plague. But it was really repetitive because they covered the time when the Black Plague returned. So it went through a few different waves, like COVID, like the flu, but I just don't think it was necessary. World without end, like book without end, seriously. But it's very weird. But I think A Column of Fire has outdone it. Ken Follett gets weirder and weirder with age. All right, second to last one is family drama. So this is to recommend a book with lots of twists and turns. There's always a lot of family drama at these engagements. But I actually am going to sort of flip the bill a little bit here and take this literally. And I'm going to recommend a family drama book for you guys, because that's one of my favorite subgenres. And so the book I'm recommending is The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, which is essentially just a better version of The Nightingale with better characters. And the ending is sadder. I did not cry, but I had my chin kind of quivering, I was sad. And it's a mother-daughter story, whereas The Nightingale is a sister-sister story. And the relationship between mother and daughter can get intense. I personally prefer father-daughter stories. Oh, so for this one, maybe I should have put The Kingmaker's Daughter by Philippa Gregory, because that was a father-daughter story. But I'll do The Four Winds, which takes place during the Great Depression. And they're going to mention a town in there, which is a real town that I have unfortunately driven through. It's called Dalhart. It is a farming community. So there's lots of cow poop. And it was like nothing I have ever smelled before. And I have just moved to the country, and I haven't smelled anything like that. Imagine a rotting deer corpse covered in cow turd, left out into the sun on top of, a bed of asparagus for 5 weeks. And that's basically what Dalhart was like. And then The Kingmaker's Daughter was set during War of the Roses. It's about Anne Neville, who ended up being the wife of Richard III. So it was very good. I think that so far, I had continued to say that The Queen's Fool was the best of a Gregory novel, but like I said, I read it when I was 16, so I'm until I read it again, I'm going to say that The Kingmaker's Daughter is Gregory's best novel. All right, so holiday planning, that is my anticipated read for 2023. Easy peasy, Wolf Hall, the Wolf Hall trilogy. So Finn, are you hungry? So Wolf Hall, you don't want it. So Wolf Hall is, the miniseries. I loved the miniseries. It was so great. But Wolf Hall is the fictional biography of Thomas Cromwell, and it's a very sympathetic portrayal. Sometimes he is extremely villainized, but not in this one. It won, the Booker or the Pulitzer because, thank goodness, his literary authors have seen what an amazing canvas historical fiction is for storytelling. And so, guys, from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of Finn's heart, happy Thanksgiving and happy reading. See you guys.